Hello. Welcome to my stream. My name is Andrew, and right now I'm developing a solution to one of my problems. It's about video generation. So I have a problem, and in every video of this series I'm describing it. So this time I'll also describe it quite briefly. So every morning starts with some operations I have to perform in order to upload video to my channel in YouTube, and it takes me to SSH to remote machine, execute script, make some approvals, and obviously it takes some time, and unfortunately it's all about I must wait, check, approve, wait, check, approve. The problem is I must wait. I don't want to wait. It's a problem. And this thing I'm doing, it's a project I have started 6 years ago. It's pipelines. Let's assume let's assume I can remove myself from the process in case of initiation of that stuff. So right now I must SSH somewhere, make requests, etc. Obviously could be resolved with cron tab, but in the end I will have to provide some input, etc. And I'm not happy about it. And the solution would be create some sort of pipelines which will start without need of me there, as well as it will utilize some quite old hardware, etc. So let me check if I have this picture. Yes, I do have it. Image viewer. Yeah, this is my quite old hardware. On top there is one MacBook. There is a second MacBook. They on top, the one on top, it's quite 10 years old, I think. So, and below there is my PC I'm streaming from. It has GPU, which is most important because it can run some models which are necessary to this process. That's the thing I would like to utilize. So one of key requirements for this project, it was single binary. That's what I'm doing. Right now I have a single binary as well as config files. Those config files right now, they are in a few files inside of directory config. For example, I have pipeline described in JSON, obviously. There can be another pipelines described in the JSON. There is config file which describes where web server started, what kind of storage it can use, what block config it can have, etc. Obviously, I can say something like HTTP request disabled, true or false. Maybe I can provide another setting named disabled blocks. And then blocks, I can say something like Raspberry Pi, which is also able to run this binary. It cannot work with heavy loads such as CPU load. There is one core. It cannot work with image resizing, definitely, but it can do HTTP requests. So I can simply enable one block for Raspberry Pi binary and disable every other block for other stuff. So also this config, right now it has pipelines in local file system, but I have shared file system. It should be here, yes. I have shared storage, which is accessible to any worker, which means I can move config to shared file storage and forget about everything. My binaries have access there. it's provided via credentials, so I will need to, let's say, redesign it to make it accessible via certificate, which means I can embed certificate files into these workers, and I no longer need anything else, since those certificates issued by me, for example, inside of this closed network, I have no problems, but it will be later. For now, that thing should solve most of my problems, and the only thing when I'm needed, it will be to approve a result and maybe approve text. For example, image generation stuff might say there are some limitations to quite simple text. For example, if you provide styling of Dolce Gabbana in 1940s, guess who will appear in those pictures? Obviously, Dali says, oh, I won't do that, thank you. That's what's happening. Spoiler alert, there will be German military and SS. So sometimes it's simple, there are limitations, and that's why I'm needed in order to approve some stuff. One of the problems I was solving last stream, it was interface of input and output of a block. For example, there is pipeline. I can simply say, okay, let's start this pipeline. So I must provide some data to start it. For example, here is just HTTP request, which will say, okay, pipeline, there is ID of pipeline. It's matched against ID in config file. And there is a block which will be executed first. And that what I was doing I think yesterday evening. There is also another way to execute pipeline. For example, if something happened in the middle, I can fix that something and then say, okay, pipeline, you used to be executed by some processing ID. There was block with that input data. Please proceed. One of those problems, it can be some sort of censorship in OpenAI or any other model. It might be network problems, or what's most frequently happening to me, I'm exhausting some credits in OpenAI. I never top up the account for quite a lot. It's like $5, maybe $10. That's maximum. And sometimes my models in some APIs, it yields me, sorry, you're out of credits, go to top up. And it takes like 10, maybe 20 minutes to start. That means that pipeline in here, it must support some sort of restart, debug, and other stuff. That's the reason why I have it in file system as well, at shared storage. That means I can, where is it? Architecture, hello, here. That's why it's in shared storage. It means I can check something. Maybe I can replace some results in progress and then proceed or resume this stopped process. Another thing I introduced, it's multicast DNS. For now, it's working. Workers do discover each other, but there is a problem. I haven't made, let's say, block discovery in shared config. For example, if worker 1 has blocks HTTP and image resize, HTTP image resize, but due to some absence of GPU, it cannot encode video. That means the pipeline executed in worker 1 should proceed its execution in another worker. That's why I have multicast DNS, which also discovers other workers. So let me start the project. And I'll share Firefox. Yes, it started. Firefox. Nice. So and here I can say there are some endpoints such as so this is worker discovery. Right now it discovers itself only, but what if I'm going to another terminal? Wait, I want to start another binary, but I forgot where is it. Not here, but maybe here. Where are clients? I need old MacBook Pro. It should be. It's quite odd. It should be here. Maybe it's already out of battery, but let's start another worker. Oh no. I think it was here. Yes, I can execute it using another port. It has been executed. Let's check. It should appear. Oh, it's already here. Nice. So there is a second worker on another port. So that's the way how workers can discover each other. Also, it has section named blocks as well as version. Recently, I have included some versioning into blocks. It will be necessary later, but for now, what's most important is binary version. I think we'll stop on this, as well as if this worker is available, etc. So the problem which I have right now, these blocks. So let's assume I have this block, by the way. Yes, let's do this. And this block, HTTP request, something with a microphone. So this block, another block, it has some sort of versioning. And what if another worker having another block which is absent here, GPU image resizer, for example, it's not here and it's not discovered correctly. That's the problem I have right now, but it will be solved later when I'll start working with GPU resources, because for now, folks, goodbye. Because for now I'm working only with HTTP resources. Okay. That's quite big chunk of job. And my plan for today was to implement output for remote storage, pipeline and blog. So I have decided to start with HTTP interface itself because it's like entry point to everything. And here it is. By the way, why it's microphone here? Remove. Something happened to my OBS, but okay, I'll proceed. So there are a few things such as list of pipelines. So I must be able, yes, Firefox. Yeah, there is a list of pipelines. It's coming straight from config file. Also, let me move this Firefox to the right. Okay. So it comes straight from here. In just parts version, why I need this list of pipelines? Later I will move it to shared storage, so there won't be any need to manage it in config directory. It will be straight from YAML, maybe some cloud synchronization. I'll do it later, but that's what I have right now. So as for HTTP interface, yes, here it is. I have first entry point. It's making some connection to the schemas. I introduced the thing. It's a schema for parsing the input. Which means this interface for inputs, when I start processing, it's in here. So I have a pipeline which has some slug and processing ID just for case when I must resume processing. And I have block input schema. I've noted that, yes, I moved input to the block itself because I say, okay, start with this block and provided this input. What's important is I have added tests for this. Let's say, let me check where are those tests. I have added unit tests, functional tests, but I decided to make it a bit further. So functional test for now it's just one thing which checks HTTP endpoint. So this endpoint should not yield anything bad. It should say, okay, I have started processing, but the checks of what's inside of that processing, I think it should be in registry test. Yeah, it's here. So there are a few tests. Since HTTP interface, it utilizes method of registry. So registry is entry point for input when I provide registry. So I have start pipeline, which simply checks if this pipeline is inside of this registry. If it's registered, that means it can work with blocks, and soon the registry will have connection to another workers. That's why registry is entry point. So let's say the schema would be quite straightforward. Worker 1, it has a pipeline registry. Another worker has a similar registry. But what's important, there is block registry. And here, it's also block registry here. So let's assume I'm passing some input data to worker 1. I need to start processing of pipeline 1. But in worker 1, it's absent. That means worker 1 must visit /pipelines of each workers inside of the network and check who owns pipeline 1. Okay, it's worker 2. It simply proxies HTTP request to worker 2. Maybe it should yield some HTTP redirect, which can be followed by client. That means it can simply say, okay, that resources in worker 2, pass request there. It will be straightforward, but the same should be valid for block registry as well. If worker 1 says, okay, start processing of P0, and worker 1 has P0 pipeline, but no block for GPU, that means discover other blocks in network and pass request there. That's the reason why this schema contains block. That means if request has been started with something missing, like in this test, right now it will yield an error because there is no discovery. But when I will introduce discovery, there won't be any error. There will be updated test about, okay, let's discover. It will be some sort of remote registry. So that's the plan which will solve the problem of different hardware, etc. And I have introduced only first pipeline handler entry point. It just start, nothing more. There is no proceed for now. And this start, it simply checks if pipeline is registered, and if it is registered, it provides, okay, pipeline start processing, use this storage. So there is another problem I would like to note. Registry has storage. It's like global thing coming from config. So in this config, where it is, yep, I have storage, and it has some credentials. Test. Let's run this test. Yep, it works. So this test ensures that nothing will start missing pipeline. This test ensures that if there is missing block, nothing will also be executed. There will be an error. Come on, yes. And this is where I check that everything was processed correctly. So let's start it. Yes. Why I'm talking about it in section of storage. I have introduced some test storage. It's in here. This storage implements some methods which used by blocks. and it has some channel for files which has been created with some sort of directory, content, etc. So in here I say, okay, registry, your storage will be mock storage. And when I start processing, I'm ensuring that there is no error, and I'm waiting that in the end, storage will get a request with this file and some content of this file. What's important, this content is mocked in HTTP. And what's interesting, it's in here. I have created some dummy pipeline of one block which makes HTTP request to somewhere. So this URL is hard-coded. That means there is no test for input right now. It's just executing one thing. Let me check input. Get pipeline. Yes, here. I have the schema for input. There is just a block. There is no input for block. It just start this pipeline from this block. And this block is number 1. So it's not checking HTTP interface. It checks its unit test. It's checking pipeline methods only. That's important. So let's proceed and produce some tests. Output for remote storage and pipeline block. In here, I have ensured that this storage gets file creation. It's important. But obviously, there is no check of interface. Let's copy this test and say start pipeline with input. And it's time to suffer. And the reason for this is quite simple. Right now, register pipeline input, etc. What is this method? Here it is. It takes pipeline slug, block slug, but there is no block input, which is why not. Let's call it, let's write a bit different thing. I must break this test. That's important. So it should be working right now. Yes, it's working. Here is success URL. It comes from predefined value. This success URL is rendered straight to the pipeline here. So pipeline schema contains this URL. But what's important, I need to introduce block input, which is yes, map string interface. And in here I should say map string interface. Oh, come on. That's the thing I would like to break. First of all, success URL. Right now it's in here. But if I supply input in the request itself, it means ignore this input. So I need to create another URL, which says overwrite URL or another URL which will break everything, but request URL or which is the same, but there should be different response. Look at response or look at priority response. Priority response, it should be here. And this is not request URL, but priority URL. Yes, this will work. And here I say priority URL, which means it should be on top of priority. So difference is in UUID, and in here I should ensure a few things. First of all, output should contain priority URL. It should not contain anything else. So when I start this test, everything should fail. Yes, it fails. Yes, it fails because of a bit different thing. Here. It's not working with the... Yeah, it works like this, better. Now it should be working. Save. Yes, beautiful. So it's on this line when, yes, where I'm checking content. So I wanted hello world market priority value. Market written. Yes, this would be more descriptive verbals. Yes, this is actual, and this is what I wanted. Overwritten. Yes, it's there. Expected. Yes, so it is ignored. It's time to update the method. I think it will be, by the way, why I made it map. Let's make it interface. Yes, it should be interface. Also, let's remove it and find every place I have used it. In here, let's say nil. Empty interface here as well, because I want to do a few things with it. Yes, that's correct. In here and in here, it should also be nil, as well as this. So if I execute this method again, this test, it should work. Oh, it should fail, obviously, but for the reason of checking instead of compilation. So I have block input. In here I should say success URL, block input. So in signature of this method, I should say hello block input, and here I should say a few interesting things. If block input is not equal nil, then yes, and why it's here? Oh, it's map string interface. Okay, let's revert it. So in here I can say if block input. I remember there was something like length check. So if I execute this test, there should be problems in compilation, I hope, because I'm passing nil. It works okay, quite dangerous. But it is important that this input should be ignored if I'm passing the value, which means let's go to start pipeline and check what's happening there. Start pipeline. It was in pipeline registry itself. Here. Yes, so I can do a few things. First of all, I can debug this test as Go debugger, but I'm preferring a bit different method named print. I need to print data, nothing more. It should contain the value. Test pipeline, yes. And by the way, yes, that's correct. Let's proceed. It's in there. Pipeline start processing. So I have the data class pipeline, and there is method name start processing. Here it is. So I have data, and there was something like input. Yes, here it is. So in this case, I have condition which says set input data. There are a few key points. First of all, it's input for pipeline. It's not input of request. This test provides input. So let's check processing data in here. I need to ensure that equal. I need to ensure that input contains URL equal to mock priority. Yes. So I need to ensure that input is correct. Let's write it and let's execute the test. Yes, it is correct. That means this one should be valid. So let's do the following. First of all, let's check that I have it correctly. Maybe I should simply panic. It should panic with ABC. Yes. Oh, no, it is not, because I have added a condition here. So let's run it again. Now it's panicking correctly. That means method named set input data should be working. So let's go to HTTP block. Oh no, I should go here, blocked parent. Let's check what set input does. Oh, here it is. I'm treating input as a map string interface, and I'm telling it, okay, your input is map string interface. That's good. So I need to visit method named process. Here it is. This data is processable block data. Good. That means I can check here. I need to ensure that override happens. let's think. So I have priority URL, which has some response. That's correct. After that, I need to ensure that process managed to get input. Here it is. That's where I was mistaken. So this test should work. Yes, it works. So I was worrying that my test is not working because there is no override of input. This one. But I saw this line and it was just like, what the hell? And I noted the error. So priority response, it comes from priority URL, and I have passed priority URL here, which means it will ignore everything. That means interface with input is respected. It works. I'm happy about it. That means I can provide some different URLs for different blocks and they will work. Also, this test ensures that storage gets correct rights. So there is data binary buffer, which is written. Where is my storage? Mock local storage. Yes, there is channel with file path as well as data. I'm happy. It was a plan for today, by the way. Implement output for remote storage for pipeline block. Every block must write its data to remote storage. And let's say, and respect. Provided input. Request. So completed. So now it's more complicated story. So this is a test. This is pipeline which contains one block. One block works. I'm happy. But what if pipeline contains two blocks or n blocks? That means I must implement interface of block synchronization. So in here I say test pipeline and input for processing. That's awesome. Let's rename it. I also had another method, register test pipeline and input for. Yes, that's awesome. So this is good, but this place should be updated. New pipeline from bytes. That means I should make it variable in here. Pipeline slab, block input map, as well as pipeline, which is string. In this case, oh, maybe not string. Interface is pipeline. What does it do? It yields me pointer to data classes pipeline data. Let's do this. But it's quite odd. I thought it should be a pipeline itself. Yes, it should be interfaces. As passes as interface value, that means this is no longer needed. By the way, why? That's why. I had to validate a few things. So in this case, I don't need pipeline. I should say it here. return pipeline. I have no need of pipeline. Yes, now it's correct. Then I don't need the suffering because it should be a method. Get test pipeline one block. Yes, and that's what I'm going to return. And here return. Also, it contained a thing named success URL. So now it should work. Let's check. I'm not sure because there was some usage. Somehow it works. Awesome. So let's stop it, clear, make test. It worked. Nice. I'm happy. So it's time to define another block. 2 blocks. That's a thing. Oh, by the way, why am I passing it here? It should be pipeline, which comes as a string, and here I can say pipeline. Converting string to bytes. What's wrong here? Oh, it's here. Pipeline, what's interface object, pipeline def. Yeah, that would be a solution. Pipeline. Also, it's not one block. Get test pipeline. Yeah, that would be correct. Get test pipeline. And here I can say success URL is no longer needed because I'm getting it from here. Also, I don't need it here because I can move it. Let's run the test. Ensure that nothing is broken. Yes, nothing is broken. That means I can move this pipeline definition somewhere else. So this method was get test pipeline and input. There is no longer need of test pipeline, refactor, rename symbol. Get test input. That is not needed. Yep. So let's run it again. It's quite boring process, but it's necessary to ensure that no test has been broken. So now I need to move this out of this test to some other method. And in this case, it will be a registry which registers this pipeline. That's correct. I don't need success URL here because it will be another method. So on here it will be get test pipeline. get this pipeline. It comes from the string. Yes, it's not needed here as well, because I must pass it as a pipeline. That will be solution. So I need to make another method, function, register. No, it will be get pipeline one block. So it should yield return. Here, what must be returned? Success URL. Yes, and here I can say interfaces pipeline. Yes, that's solution. And in this case, I can say pipeline, it comes first. That is solution. Now I need to find every place which utilize this. And I need to copy paste. Copy paste a lot. Success URL comes here, then it is replaced. In here, it's also replaced. In here, it's replaced as well. As well as in here. No, it's correct. This one, yeah, success URL. Update it to this as well as this. So let's run the test again. What happened? Get test. What happened in here? Yes, it's fine. So let's run the test again. Make test unit. Everything works. Beautiful. That means I came to the moment when I must define pipeline with 2 blocks and it should be test. So how to do it? 2 blocks. First of all, what blocks should be there, because I cannot make 2 HTTP blocks, 2 consequent HTTP blocks. By the way, I can, that's awesome. 2 blocks, 1 block first, as well as second block URL. So what I want to introduce is this. I have a first block, pipelines, 2 blocks. First block, it's HTTP, then another HTTP block. First slug, second slug. How should it work? Description, request, data from request local resource. Yes, it will be correct, but in here it should be request a result from first block. So first block should produce URL. Then second block should consume its output, and there is a URL. It should request it as well. So this place is no longer needed. I don't need second block. It's first block. And the test, at least in my head, it should be a bit different. Start processing 2 blocks. And here I should say hello world, market value, no. Second block response. Yes, that's correct. So what I have, first of all, success URL. I need to have first URL as just simple URL, but its content must be another local URL, which will be requested. And what's important, first block, input, get mock server URL. Let's check what's inside. Inside I have quite straightforward function which yields URL of that server. So let's say first block input, then I have second block input, and second block input should contain market response. The only thing I'm not happy about, this block should produce a valid URL which will be requested by this block. That means hello world is not an option. I must have another URL. I think I had a method somewhere here. So I have server URL. There was unstarted server somewhere. It's not here. So this should be some value. Everything is correct. This one. So I'm passing this test pipeline slug. So let's start this. Then I say, okay, start with this block. And there is data. It has block input, map string interface. Correct. So map string interface. First block input. Yes, that's correct. So first block input should contain second block input. Yeah. Backwards. And now the test in the end should contain this. So it will not work because there are two files. So let's start it. Yes, it's not working. So what do I have? Test panic pipeline is valid for 2 blocks. Aha. Register pipeline, get 2 blocks. First block input. Oh, by the way. So let's also check how it's overwritten, because if it's not URL, the thing won't make a request, which means absolute failure. But this should rewrite it. Get pipeline, get oh, that was tough. So I have pipeline, select 2 blocks. I have this input. Here. Input config. It was defined there, because how this will understand that it needs data from here. Obviously, if it comes in sequence, it's okay. But in my plan, it was a bit different. It was input config. Let's yeah. Get text. Yes. Was there anywhere block without input? Oh, I have better option. There is pipeline somewhere here. Yes. So input, then I say, okay, input config. Yes. Is there any block without it? Because without input, it should rely on previous block, but it will be some sort of magic. Input, input, input. Yes, it's everywhere. That's awesome. That means let's write it. Input. URL origin. It should come from first slug. That's correct schema. Obviously, I have no input config processing. That means it should fail. So somehow it passes. Priority URL, priority response. It's yes, it was wrong test. Phew, I'm happy. This one. Yes, it fails. Beautiful. So in here I should read at least 2 files. Created file block 1 and created file block 2 should contain a few different things. First file should have No. It's here. $133. Yes, this one. I need to ensure that this test is correct. And then I'll write code for input config implementation in here. So in here I have just input. There is nothing related to input config. But in here it's quite tricky. Maybe I had made a mistake here. Second block response. That means second HTTP block must make request there. So first block input. It should contain URL. Yes, so that means first file yes, so I made a mistake. I see it here. So what I have, 133, oh no, it's still here. First created files. It contains URL, at least it should contain URL. That means let's go to block HTTP. There is beautiful block HTTP here. Let's go to its process. It's not here. Yeah, here. First block input. It means let's visit this. Let's make printed. And now let's print this. So that means it should be equal. Yes. So first block processes this URL. It's input. The block accepts correct URL. So let's do another stuff. Let's also print output. Block processed output. And then here I should print. First block must print. First block must have content. Its second block input. First block URL 56. First block must have content 955. First block processing 56, and it has correct output. Everything is correct, but there is an error. 135, it's here. My storage gets a file. It's not empty, but second block input. Let's try it. Beautiful, it works. So what has been done? It will die because of timeout, I think, 10 seconds. Yes, timeout after 10 seconds. Beautiful. So what has happened? This block was processed correctly. There is output. Output here. First block processed, but nothing happened to second block because start processing. It's in here. It works with one block. Yay! That means I need to introduce cycling. It will be just like here. So in here, I'm getting the block. I'm checking the block. When I found the block, it makes break. But to be honest, it should not make break. The body of this function should be inside of this break, inside of this cycle. But I'll do it on next stream. I should to the Monday. Yes, in Monday I should have that stuff. Also, it will be quite tough because iterations through blocks, it's not a big deal, but this one is a big deal. So the problem, I have test storage. It does not do anything right now, but this local storage should have a thing named list object. So interface of this input config. Let's go to the plans. It will be September 9, I think. Yeah, September 9. First of all, I need to implement block iteration. It will be, I wouldn't say complicated, but there is another quite big objective. Input config. Input config relies on results of previous iterations. That means it should visit shared storage. In my test, it is there is nothing. And I have channel. Obviously, I will have to create some sort of mapping named object, or maybe files, which will be mapping string buffer. Yeah, that's correct. So the idea would be quite straightforward. And here I'm getting not bucket, but let's check. It was in block processing itself. I think here. Yes. This is what it should request. Let's describe it here. Okay, file path, which will be like this. And value, file content, yes. So this is how it will access. Input config must, where is it? Here. I have test block first slug. So I will have to navigate through storage. And it's not pipeline UID, but processing ID. Block slug output. Yes. That's what I will have to do. And then I will have to implement the same thing for local storage. Yes, it has no list objects as well. The remote storage. Put, where is list? Oh, I have list objects here. That's what I will have to do. It will be quite tough, so maybe I'll move it to later. 11. So till Monday I should have 2 blocks. Yes, I will try to do it. It's quite tough. That's all. I'm 15 minutes over time. Sorry. What happens after? After that, it will be most complicated. I wouldn't say moment, but this is input config with 1 block. What if I have just like this big pipeline, like, yes, here. There are 4 different inputs from 4 different blocks. Obviously, they're all above, which is fine. So I will have to implement, yes, unit tests for this case when there are n blocks with a random connection. It is possible to make it randomized, so it will be quite big test, and only after that I will be able to proceed with functional tests in here. Yes. No, it's pipelines. There was yes, here, pipeline test. No, come on. Functional worker test. Have I forgot it somewhere? There was a slug. Maybe I have removed this test from. So after that, I will be able to write functional tests for at least 2 cases. Case 1, when I start pipeline from scratch. Case 2, when I resume pipeline in case of it happened. So functional tests, it's like end-to-end. Checks API interface, nothing more. It should not check input config because unit tests are checking it. So this is most challenging part. Input config and storage. After that, everything will be quite straightforward because here it is. Video generation, it's FFmpeg. Obviously, it's possible to make these blocks or shell exec with some arguments. Obviously, there are bindings for binaries. So I'll figure it out. There are a few blocks which might cause problems. It's where was it? Assemble video. It might be challenging, but it will be quite boring stream series. So that's all. That's my plan for this week, I think. Block iteration. Yes. Maybe I'll make it till September 14. Yeah. It will take a few days. It will be a painful experience, but I will have to pass it. After that, implement a few blocks and check how it works. That's all. So thank you for watching and bye bye.